From 1989 to 1995, Nurse Kristen Gilbert murdered 4 of her patients at the Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Massachusetts, and she's suspected of killing dozens more. On Mind of a Monster, a podcast from ID, criminal psychologist Dr. Michelle Ward dives into Kristen Gilbert's twisted mind to try and find out why she killed her patients and how she was able to do it in front of her colleagues. She speaks with detectives, journalists, nurses, and victims' families to unpack Gilbert's life and crimes on Ward C. Listen to Mind of a Monster, The Killer Nurse, wherever you get your podcasts.
Never go to the second location. Always trust your gut. Hello, my name is Chrissy Champagne, and you are listening to Residue, a true crime podcast dedicated to keeping you paranoid. In each episode of Residue, we break down the made-for-TV films and theatrical releases based on chilling real-life cases. Residue is created, hosted, written, researched, produced, and edited by me, Chrissy Champagne. And don't forget, you can find me on Instagram at Residue Podcast, TikTok at Residue A True Crime Pod, and Facebook at Residue A True Crime Podcast. And don't forget, the best thing that you can do for any podcast that you love is leave a 5-star review. Leaving a 5-star review for any podcast really helps push the podcast out to new audiences, and it makes me really happy. So, if you are enjoying the show, why don't you just take a little time to press that follow button so that you can remember to meet us back here every single Tuesday for a new episode. And I'll give you a little tune. I need an around the way girl. That's the one for me. She's the only one. Follow me. Does anyone in the Resi crew ever try and guess what I'm going to sing this week? Because as I'm thinking about it, I have such an eclectic mix of artists that I just basically pull out of my ass the minute I press record. So in the next couple of weeks, we have some pretty heavy stories coming up, including The Burning Bed, I Know My First Name is Steven, and Adam Walsh. So today, we're going a little lighter. I mean, this one still really pisses me off, and I get angry even watching the made-for-television film. The movie today is Video Voyeur, starring Angie Harmon and Dale Midkiff. One of our favorites here at Residue. I think that one day, if I ever get to go to a convention or any kind of true crime fest, I'm going to see if Dale Midkiff wants to come with me and just like stand with me at my booth. I mean, he'd have his own booth and he'd probably get way more people coming over to see him. But maybe I can team up with Dale at some point. Also, in true manifestation technique, I'm not going to be saying maybe one day if I ever get to go. I'm going to say I intend to go to a convention one day and meet all of you. And I intend to hang out with Dale Midkiff at some point. I am hanging out with Dale Midkiff at some point. Also, take a shot every time I say Dale Midkiff during this episode. So, today we will be talking about the true story of Susan Wilson, and as always, listener discretion is advised. Video Voyeur, the Susan Wilson story, is a 2002 made-for-television film directed by Tim Hunter, and it stars Angie Harmon as Susan Wilson, Jamie Sheridan as Steve Glover, and Dale Midkiff as Gary Wilson. This is the story of Susan Wilson, a Louisiana woman who was videotaped in her own home by her friend and neighbor, and her case helped make video voyeurism a crime. Okay, so I wanted to read you a couple of reviews for this movie. I enjoyed it. I rewatched it recently on YouTube for free. You can get it on Prime, on Lifetime Movie Network. But I read a couple of reviews, and there was just this one that just said, there's no erotica in this. thinking if a movie's called Video Voyeur, they're going to have some sex scenes in it. They do not. And I will also caution you, if you type in Video Voyeur, I don't even know. Do I say voyeur, right? Voyeurism, but I say voyeur. I try to sound super fancy when I say it. Anyway, if you type it in, you're going to get a lot of porn. Okay. It's going to be blocked out. So don't worry or worry if you wanted to see it, but, just type in movie after. So this person apparently thought they were about to see maybe a little, Skinamax, but no. I found another review that was pretty long, but really hysterical. And there was one part in this review where the person writes, I'm going to laugh. Okay. Well, they kind of talk about Angie Harmon and how she oozes dull. And this person says they usually love ooze of any flavor, but they didn't like it in this movie because they wanted to see the evil character of Steve get what he's got coming to him. And he doesn't really get that in this movie. I will, spoil that for you. But as she says in her review, I just want to see nasty sex pests dying in movies because they're not going to get what they deserve in real life. And you don't get that in this movie. You get the watered down version. You're not going to get porn, and you're not going to see what they're doing in the bathroom. And you're not going to get any type of hardcore revenge. Okay, and when I say you're not going to get to see what they do in the bathroom, I just meant like showers, okay? Let's just get that straight for now. Video voyeurism is the act of unlawfully capturing an image or a video of a person without their consent, and when they have a reasonable expectation of privacy, like in their own home. So Susan's case happened before, the big explosion of Facebook or TikTok or having a camera readily available on your phone. And this conduct includes secretly filming someone undressing or in a private setting like their bathroom, or installing hidden cameras to record intimate moments that this person is having. Federal and state laws prohibit video voyeurism, and they recognize it as a serious crime that infringes on privacy and can be an extension of stalking. But this wasn't always the case. Video voyeurism wasn't a thing. It wasn't illegal until the Susan Wilson story. And when this did happen to Susan, she was too scared to go public about it. She just wanted it to be over. She wanted it to end. She wanted to keep her name out of it. But in the end, she realized that she needed to take a stand. In 1998, Gary and Susan Wilson moved their family to Monroe, Louisiana. And Gary Wilson said of Monroe, "This is the kind of town where when you wave, they wave back." Susan Wilson had this friend named Stephen Glover. Now, she went to high school with him, and he lived on the same block where they bought their new house in Monroe, Louisiana. And in fact, he had a huge part in helping them finally buy this home. So he was someone that was so close to them that he attended their wedding. He was a deacon in their church, and he was helping them move into their dream house. Now, as the movie portrays, this little town that the Wilsons lived in is a gorgeous, quaint, very friendly little town. Everyone goes to the same church. Everyone is friends with everyone. The kids are all in the same youth group. And Susan and Gary, her husband, had 2 children, teenage children. And so they're loving this little community. They're trying to just dive right in and become friends with everyone. Now, Stephen Glover and his family are like the head of everything. They're like the leaders of the entire pack, they're perfect. Everyone thinks they're just so wonderful. To me, as I'm watching the movie, I'm losing my mind. I'm like, there is no way we would stay living in that home even after 1 hour of being in this town, because this guy never leaves Susan alone. He's constantly up her ass. It's like, She can't go anywhere. She can't go to the grocery store. She can't go to church. She can't even just be in her own home. And he's knocking on the door. He's like, hey, Susan, do you need me to help with anything? He's always trying to help, And Susan's a really lovely woman, and she's, being gracious. In her mind, she owes this man a lot. He helped them get their home. He's an old high school friend. What's the harm? Stephen and his wife also say, if you want to come over and use our pool, use our jacuzzi, even if we're not home, that's cool. We let everyone in the neighborhood use it. So she's feeling like, am I the one being a bitch if I get mad at this guy? I mean, this guy is like an angel on earth. Now, if you do watch the made-for-television film, you will see that Susan doesn't want a lot of publicity. She wanted this to kind of stay quiet, but she knew she had to fight back at some point. And, this is a little different from some of the stories that I tell here. This one is a little tamer. There's no murder in this story, but what she goes through is just pure psychological terror. And so there isn't a lot of information out there about the family specifically because they're a very private family. But I will tell you that Susan's teenage daughter, she did not like Stephen Glover. She right away felt red flags from him, and he was kind of mean to her. He was creepy, saying creepy things to her. She's a teenage girl. He's making her feel uncomfortable. And she would say this to her parents, like, I don't like him. Do we have to always have him around? And the parents kind of brushed it off. But then Susan starts feeling the same way. And she starts realizing that sometimes she'll just be alone in her home, as we do, talking to ourselves as we're just going about our day. And she'll kind of be looking in the mirror, getting herself ready for the day. And she'll go, oh God, my hair looks so horrible today. I'm having such a bad hair day. And she'll leave her house. And the first person standing outside her door is Steve, just standing in her driveway. And he'll be like, your hair looks great today, Susan. And it's little things like that. If you tell someone else that happened, they'd be like, okay, well, maybe that's just a coincidence. But these little tiny coincidences just kept happening so much that it now starts to make Susan think. And it's starting to make her go a little crazy because she doesn't want to come off as being some mean neighbor. When Susan was interviewed later by CBS News, she told them that one incident in particular was, her yearbook. She ordered a high school yearbook or a college yearbook, okay? And it finally came in the mail. And she's been sitting in her house all day just looking through her college yearbook and reminiscing. And that evening, Stephen Glover comes by her house and he says to her, I know what you've been doing all day. You've been looking at that yearbook, haven't you? And she's just like, what the hell? So this incident where she knows for a fact, this guy's watching me. How did he know I was sitting in my home? So she starts to talk to her sister about this. And her sister is right away like, let's go look through his house. They have keys to the neighbor's house. So the Glovers exchanged keys with the Wilsons just in case anything happened. So her sister talks her into it. And the two of them wait until the Glovers leave and they go into their home and they look around. And while they're looking around, they find all of these videotapes, VHS videotapes, and they start popping them into the TV. They're watching them. They portray this part in the movie, but when they do it, it is Susan's friend who's helping her, not her sister. But still, you're getting that anxious feeling while you're watching it. What are you guys doing? Get out of the house. But they pop in one of the tapes and her sister says, oh my God, Susan, that's your bedroom. And it is an image of Susan and her husband in bed together. And it just blows Susan's mind. They take the tapes. They get out of the house. They get back to Susan's house and they wait for Susan's husband to come home to tell him everything. Gary Wilson is just in shock. Now, he tells CBS News he knew when they moved in that they had holes in the ceiling. These were tiny, tiny holes. But he didn't think that a video camera was going to be able to record or shoot pictures through these holes because they were so tiny. Gary rushes upstairs to his family's attic. Inside of that attic, he finds a lot of insulation. So he pushes all of this insulation back, and behind it, hiding, is a 13-inch TV. And then there's a video camera pointing straight down onto their bed in their master bedroom. I mean, do you know how scary that had to be, especially in 1998? I mean, this is before Ring cameras, cell phones with video cameras on them. And I mean, before Simply Safe, before alarm system cameras, nobody had them at that point. So to find a huge VHS camera just pointing down onto your bed, a TV up there, I mean, this guy did this. He planned this. To think about the fact that he was helping them get this home, but he went into the home before they could move their stuff in, and he planted devices all over the place. And now you find this set of, spy equipment, and you're wondering, where else could there be cameras? There've got to be cameras everywhere else. And of course there were. I mean, there was cameras in their bathrooms. There was cameras everywhere watching every move that Susan made. They found camera holes in other places too, like over the shower where there was a miniature lens that was capturing every single moment that everyone in the family had in that shower. And Susan says that in that bathroom, there was a little light bulb that the light bulb blew and you couldn't really see. It was really dark in the bathroom now, and she never replaced it because she said, I need the darkness to protect me. It's as if my skin has been ripped off. So everything hurts. The light hurts. And once it's dark, I don't have to think about what I see. And I know everyone's thinking it. The Wilsons did find holes in their children's bathroom, but they never found any tapes. So Stephen Glover even watched his own home. So he put cameras in his hot tub room, the room next to his hot tub room, the room where guests would come in and change, when he would tell everyone in town, why don't you come on over when we're not home even and just use the hot tub? And then he would have all the women in town in his little changing room, and his videotapes, they were there. They were going. All of these women were videotaped. All of the children that were with these women were videotaped. Now, since Stephen was a member of the church, people that attended the church were trying to talk Susan out of pressing any charges, trying to tell her that, you know what, he's a good guy. He just made a couple of mistakes. And nobody could really comprehend what Susan and her family were going through. So finally, when it comes out that Stephen Glover had a video camera in his hot tub room, and now other members of the church, members in the neighborhood, they realize, oh my God, I could also be on those tapes. And now, now they understand what Susan and her family were going through. But you might be asking yourself, okay, how much time is he going to spend in jail for invasion of privacy, for everything that he put Susan and her family through mentally? It's going to be no time. And this is why. So the district attorney, Jerry Jones, said, you have a peeping Tom. That has been against the law in every state. He's a criminal. But this video voyeurism part, this is not criminal. We don't have any laws against this. So we don't know how to prosecute this man. And the reason was because at this time in 1998, the technology was ahead of the law, just like we have now with certain aspects of social media. So they didn't know how to prosecute him because they're saying if Stephen Glover had peeked through their windows, then they could have said, okay, he's arrested. This is a peeping Tom issue. But he watched them through a camera, so they're just all completely confused on how to proceed. On top of her neighbor spying on her and videotaping her without her consent, now the police have gathered all of these VHS tapes and they have them as evidence and they have to watch them. And sometimes Susan would have to sit there with her lawyer and watch them too. Now, these police officers were harassing her in ways like I mean, she said that she had officers coming on to her, making comments like, "Oh, well, you have lost weight, haven't you?" Referring to her in the tapes compared to her sitting in the office watching the tapes. And on these tapes, she's completely naked. She's taking a shower. There's a point where an officer says something like, "Well, I don't know what you're so worried about. You have a fantastic figure." Of course, reporters and the lawyers, they're questioning the police department. They're asking them, "Did you say these things to Susan Wilson?" And they deny it. And they say, "Mrs. Wilson had plenty of opportunities to file a complaint, but she has not." In 1998, while they are dealing with this in Louisiana, the district attorney, Jerry Jones, he starts to realize this is not going to be an isolated case. Like, every state is going to have to jump on this bandwagon with me, because if they don't start dealing with this quickly, they're going to start having victims like I have. And at first, Susan Wilson was too scared to go public with this. She didn't want to talk about it. She wanted the police to handle it, and then she wanted it to be over and done. But she realizes, just like her attorney, I have to make some changes. I can't let this happen to somebody else, because she said she suffered through this and she does not want to see someone else go through it. So she says that this is not just a misdemeanor. She wanted this to be a felony with serious charges. Susan Wilson said, "I struggled just trying to be and feel normal, living every day with the pain of being so violated. It did make me driven, though, to get laws to protect Americans from going through what my family and I experienced." And like I've been saying, Susan Wilson and her family wanted to remain relatively private. You can't find a ton of information about the family online, just this story. But in making the decision to release the Lifetime movie, Video Voyeur, the Susan Wilson story, this movie actually helped them get these laws passed. So this was going to be pretty difficult to have, any repercussions for Gary. But Gary admitted that he taped Susan and her husband, but he completely denies that he taped their children, and he offered an apology to the family, through his lawyer. His apology said he wishes it had never occurred for both himself, well, always got to talk about yourself first, for Mrs. Wilson, for her family, friends, and everyone else that may have been affected. My favorite part is how he says that he feels sorry for himself. Okay. He feels sorry for himself that this ever occurred. And, the actor that plays him in the movie is crazy good. That guy is so creepy. Stephen Glover pleaded guilty to unauthorized entry, and he got 3 years probation. That's it. And the Wilsons lost their dream home. They put the house up for sale and got the hell away from that community. 3 years after Lifetime made the movie, Video Voyeur, the Susan Wilson story, President Bush signed a video voyeurism bill into law. And that new law made it a federal crime to secretly capture images of people on federal property in situations in which they have the expectation of privacy. And Lifetime called the bill an important first step in the effort to protect people from video voyeurism. The senior vice president of Lifetime Original Movies at the time, Trevor Walton, he said, "I am delighted that our Lifetime movie proved to be such a useful tool to make this a reality." The executive producer of the Lifetime movie said that as a team, we made a movie and a commitment to make something good come out of a horrible crime against Susan and her family. Meredith Wagner is the Lifetime executive vice president of public affairs. She stated that when we began working on our movie, only a handful of states had laws making video voyeurism a serious crime. And now this act will prohibit filming or taking compromising pictures on all federal property across the nation. So Lifetime has a campaign called Our Lifetime Commitment, Stop Violence Against Women. And this campaign is award-winning. And the Video Voyeur law marked its second legislative victory. for the Lifetime network. They also helped pass the Justice for All Act of 2004, which provided funding to eliminate a backlog of untested DNA evidence and help put thousands of rapists behind bars. So, Lifetime Movie Network isn't just making cool movies for us to chill out on a Sunday afternoon and watch. They're putting up a fight. So Susan Wilson was really proud of passing this law, but she did say that she had hoped for a broader measure that would outlaw video voyeurism on private property as well as federal facilities. Since Susan Wilson's case, there have been many video voyeurism cases, and recent examples including in 2007, a Florida landlord was arrested after hiding cameras in a DVD player to record his female tenants undressing. There have been cases involving individuals using cell phones or other devices to secretly record others in private settings, such as a Kentucky teen who recorded a 15-year-old performing a sex act. In September of 2022, Dana Allen Caruso, age 58, he was arrested and charged with multiple sex offenses for allegedly installing a video recording device inside family restrooms. And this was at a public beach. When police found these recordings in this public beach bathroom, they were trying to identify 55 plus victims, obviously including children. So this guy gets caught because an employee for the city is going in to clean the beach bathrooms and he's noticing that they installed new fire alarms. So he asks about it. He's like, what are these new fire alarms? I've never seen them. And, his bosses are like, what are you talking about? They go in to inspect and find out that this man has disguised his cameras as these little red square fire alarms. They even had warning lights, and every single person that went into that bathroom was videotaped. And there were some people that were in more than one video clip, more than once a day. I mean, people go to the beach. Police are able to arrest this dude because he would go into the woman's bathroom and it caught him on camera. And they figured out who he was. They followed him with the other cameras that are at the beach, the city cameras, and they followed him into the parking lot and they could see what car he got into, got his license plate, found out from his records that this man has done this before. And when he did it before, he was placing his cell phone inside of women's dressing rooms, and he would hide the cell phone in like a shoebox or something. When you go into like a Marshall's or a Target dressing room and somebody has left all of their clothes in there and shoes and stuff? Yeah, now you're going to be worried and you're going to be looking through everything. You're going to ask the clerk at the front desk, like, can you just get these out of here, please? Thank you. Or I just won't try clothes on at all. I'll just buy them and return them if they don't fit. I don't know. I wanted to tell you guys this story because basically, stay paranoid. The world is a crazy place. We literally do not know who is watching us ever. Have you seen those videos mainly on TikTok where you'll see a man pretending like he's holding his phone and he's videotaping a young woman? And I don't know. I see them all the time. And I've seen one video where a woman actually got loud and she started screaming at him and embarrassing him. And I think that's what we should do. If you see something like this happening, if you find out it's happening to you, be loud. Just scream, embarrass them like the scumbag that they are. And I'm so happy that Susan Wilson got the courage to not just shrink down and hide. She got the courage to stand up to this man and to pass laws to protect other people. I will leave you with Susan's words. It's just a very basic need that you have: shelter and privacy. I just never realized what a great need it is. Because once it's gone, how do you get it back? Stay safe and stay paranoid.